and take the free career evaluation today. Make new year, new career your resolution at mycomputercareer.edu.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. This is Joey Donofrio of Donofrio Associates. So good morning. We're going to do a little soft opening. So while we're waiting for others to show up, did anyone do Brokers Opens yesterday here in class or online? So I'll start in class here with Jana and see what she has to say after she finishes swallowing her delicious breakfast that was supplied by Donofrio and Associates.
So Susie and I, we went to Arlington. We did those 3 listed. Two were Long and Foster. One was Kelly Williams from this office. So what we found, one real Long and Foster in Arlington was empty, totally empty. It was the only one that had those covers for shoes to use for us. And we also saw like 2 other groups of realtors. We saw them in the other houses, so they were looking around just like we were. The other house was partially staged with the owner's furniture, just used. What she had, the rest was put in storage, so that was also interesting. And the third, we thought it was going to be investment property because it was super old estate house in neighborhood where they are popping like 2 million houses. So it was interesting to see.
Sharing. Anyone online? Susie, anything you would like to add to what Jana said? Welcome, Kelly.
Okay. No, she was good. Thanks, Jana.
Okay, anyone online go to any Brokers Opens yesterday? Welcome, Donna. Would you like to share anything about a Brokers Open that you may have gone to yesterday, or rather Tuesday?
I didn't go to any on Tuesday. I had all kinds of classes going on and some lead gen going on.
Very good. All right, great. Well, we've got 5 online, 2 in class, and I don't want to keep Joey tied up here longer than he needs to be because he's got inspections to do, I'm sure. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Joey Donofrio.
Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you guys for being here in class, and thank you guys for signing in online and listening to this class. Typically, when I teach managing the home inspection class, I do it for CE courses. It's such a great class, not only for existing agents, but for brand new agents to hear this information. Because in real estate, I know when you got into real estate, you probably weren't thinking about the home inspection. It was probably like the last part far on your mind. You were like, how do I sell a house? How do I get paid? But the home inspection can be one of the most stressful parts of real estate if the expectations are not handled correctly. And we as home inspectors can only manage those expectations so much, but because we only get them we start managing the expectations right when they call into the office, when they schedule that home inspection, and then when our home inspector comes up, we are setting the expectation. But before that, you guys are building a relationship with those clients. They're beginning to trust you guys as the agent, and you start showing them properties. You're going to look at houses, and they're saying, oh my God, this house is dinged, this house is this, or this house is pretty, this house is ugly. I think that is the perfect time as a real estate agent to start preparing your clients for the home inspection. Setting the expectations from you before the home inspector has to set it, it'll save you, because in anything in life, I believe that if you set the expectation on the forefront, it relieves a lot of headaches on the back end. Setting that expectation is so important. So today we're going to talk about how we manage the home inspection, kind of how to set that expectation to make it a smoother deal for you, to make you guys look like more of an expert in your field, and hopefully so you're not ruffling feathers with that listing agent on the other side when you go to the negotiating table, because you're realistic and you've already set that expectation for your clients to be realistic. So that's what we're going to cover here today. And if you guys have any questions, I'll try to stop and ask after I go over a few slides, especially for the people online. and see if you guys have any questions. Typically, this should be about an hour, depending on questions. So managing the home inspection. So first off, you want to direct your clients to the best inspector. We're going to equip the buyer for the home inspection. We're going to advise the seller, benefit to the seller, how the seller should prepare, things the inspector will ask for, and frequently asked questions. These are all things that we're going to cover in this course. So directing your clients to the best home inspection. We all have this idea of a level of professionalism that we want to have in our business. It would be foolish for you to hire somebody who does not have the same, or to work with somebody who doesn't have the same professionalism as you, the same customer service as you. It just doesn't make sense. I use this example. My mom is a real estate agent, and I love my mom to death, so this isn't knocking my mom, but she's not the best real estate agent. So if I'm buying a house, why would I use my mom? If I know that I could use a better agent that's going to get me a better deal, work better for me, yeah, she's not going to love me like my mom does, but she's also not going to handle the transaction like I would want it to be handled because she just doesn't have that expertise. We all have friends. We all have family members. Maybe they're in the mortgage industry. If you're looking at them and saying, man, if they can do it, oh my God, anybody can, then it's probably somebody that you don't necessarily want to partner up with because they don't have the same level of customer service. They don't have the same level of professionalism, and they're going to be a pain in the butt to work with. So always make sure that you're working with people, whether it's a mortgage lender, home inspector, title company, that they are providing the same customer service and level of professionalism that you expect your clients to have. So what is a home inspection? A home inspection is a visual, non-intrusive inspection. We can't break in walls. We can't remove things that are permanent. It's just visual inspection of the property. It's basically a snapshot of the property in its current condition. We inspect everything from the foundation all the way up to the roof. Any questions? So having a home inspection is like giving a physical checkup. Sometimes my friends will be like, I'll tell them, oh yeah, I do home inspections. And they're like, oh, so does that mean you pass and fail houses? That's not what I do at all. I never say, oh, this fails, this passes. I educate the home buyers on the home that they're purchasing in an informative, positive manner. My life is not an HGTV special. I wish my life was exciting as some of the stuff we see on HGTV. It really is not. 95% of everything that we find on a home inspection is going to be manageable stuff. Very rarely do we walk into a house and the foundation needs to be rebuilt, where $40,000 needs to be put into the house, where there's knob and tube wiring. Those are very rare occurrences. And so it's not the home inspector's job to persuade the client whether to buy or not buy the house. Our job is to report the matters black and white. We are the experts in finding things, educating the homeowner on the home, and then you guys are the experts to then take our information and negotiate it. Home inspectors should never be offering their opinion on inspection. Hey, Joey, should this be fixed? That is between you and your agent. I, as a home inspector, have never negotiated a deal, so it would be foolish of me to say, yeah, man, the seller should fix that. I don't know what you paid for the house. I don't care to know what your clients paid for the house, and I don't want to know the nature of the deal. That's not my professionalism. That's not my hat. The problem is if I open my mouth because I'm a professional in that home and I say, oh yeah, the seller should fix that. What did I do there is I've created tension between you and your client now. Now you and your client, the clients will look at you and say, wait, no, the seller should fix that. And you're going to be like, no, they're not. That is just a normal kind of maintenance thing. Remember, we're only looking for the big ticket items based on the deal that you got. Remember how competitive the offer was that we put in? We're not going to ask them to fix it because they could say no and they could walk away from the deal. So it's not the home inspector's job to tell you what needs to be fixed. We're going to present issues. We're going to educate. We're going to tell them what's good about their house. But we shouldn't be giving our opinion on inspections. Too many times I hear of horror stories where inspectors do that. Oh, I wouldn't buy this house. That is, if somebody's saying that, I would never work with them ever again. So make sure they're positive, educational, and upbeat. So we're like we are like if you were to go to get a physical checkup. You go to get your yearly physical, we're going to tell you what's right with what you're doing right, what you're doing good. Hey, this you need to work on. Your cholesterol's a little bit high. You need to diet, exercise. Maybe you're a little bit overweight. Maybe you need to lose some weight. Maybe there's you got something going on with your heart or lungs. Hey, you're going to have to now go see a specialist to get that taken a look at. And now you're like, oh my God, am I dying? And then you go to get the specialist, and the specialist says, oh, you know, it's just something little, it's nothing. So if we find issues with the house, we're going to direct you to the path to the solution, whether that's seeing an HVAC contractor, maybe a roofing contractor needs to come in. We're not going to tell you exactly how to fix something, but we're going to give you this path to the solution to fix something. There are literally multiple different ways to fix issues, and so we're not contractors, but we're going to guide you to the right person who can then make that recommendation on how to fix it. Now, there's certain things, if there's like structural issues, we can guide you in, hey, this is how the fix should look like, but we're not going to exactly describe how to fix it. Does that make sense? So a home inspection is not a commodity item. They vary in knowledge. Anybody can really be a home inspector if they take a 70-hour course in Virginia and they pass the national inspector exam. They are supposed to do 50 inspections. They can get licensed if they do 50 inspections without a licensed inspector, or 25 inspections with a certified inspector if they do the 70 hours of coursework and pass a national test. Like kind of like you to get your real estate license, you go to take that PSI test. That's exactly what we do. So they do vary in knowledge, customer service, and professionalism. So we're going back to that again. Work with people who have the same type of professionalism that you do, the same type of customer service that you provide, and the expertise that you desire and the knowledge that you desire in those fields. Make sure you work with knowledgeable people. Important questions to ask your home inspector. Now, you know, are you professionally trained? Where did you get your training? So there's two places. Well, there's multiple places where we can get trained, but there's two major organizations that we have to be affiliated with to get licensed, and that give us our standard of practice. And that's INTERNACHI, which is the International Association of Certified Home Inspector, and ASHI, which is the American Society of Home Inspector. Some people say, well, Joey, what's better? They're both great. If your home inspector is affiliated with ASHI or INTERNACHI, that's really what you're looking for. ASHI is more of like they've been around a little bit longer, but INTERNACHI is a newer company, and they are the largest company that home inspectors can get certified from. So that's where we get our certifications. You know, how much experience do you have? There's agents out there that will say, man, I've been in business for 30 years. And you're like, that's unbelievable. I don't know how you've been in business that long. And there's been agents that have been maybe in business 5 years, and you're like, wow, you seem so professional. It's so great. I don't think the years of experience. Hello, can everyone hear me now? So we had some mic issues, so I'm going to use this microphone from now on. But I think more importantly than, you know, how we judge experience, I think it's more importantly, how many inspections have you been on? Because you could have a guy that's been in business for 10 years and he's done 200 inspections a year and he's done 2,000 home inspections. Or you could have had a home inspector who's doing 400 to 500 inspections a year and he reaches that amount in 4 years or 3 years. So it's more about how many transactions or how many home inspections they've been a part of rather than how many years you've been in business. Sometimes the years can be misleading. Maybe it was a part-time job for them. Maybe it wasn't full-time for them. So it's like when if you guys haven't been on a real estate transaction yet, you're studying on how to do it. I guarantee you're going to have help on that first transaction. You're going to need guidance through that first transaction because nothing replaces that hands-on experience. I can study home inspections all day long. I can study real estate all day long. But when I get to that first, that's where I'm really in the field and learning how to do it. So it's more about that hands-on experience. We've been in business for 17 years, and I can tell you we still see new things on inspections. You know, when you're dealing with homes that were built in the 1900s, 1800s to 2017, that's a wide range of years. And so we're always going to see new things. You as real estate agents, whether it's your first transaction, your 100th transaction, your 1,000th transaction, there's going to be different things that you're probably going to learn along the way. Maybe it's dealing with, you know, how to deal with another a snarky agent on the other end. You know, so it varies widely in that. So it's more about how many transactions, how many inspections has that inspector been a part of. Is inspections their only business? You know, a snake with two heads is lost, right? So is that their only business? Are they solely focused on that business? Are they growing in that business? Do they belong to any professional organizations, ASHI and INTERNACHI? Are they required to complete continuing education? Yes, we are. To be affiliated with ASHI and InterNACHI, they both require continuing education. As of July 1, 2017, there's a licensing requirement in Virginia. Before it was voluntary licensing. Now in 2017, it is required that every home inspector is licensed within the state of Virginia to do home inspections. With that, yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, hopefully no more handwritten reports. I still hear that people are handwriting reports, but hopefully that does away with some of the riffraff that you have in the industry. And also, with that licensing, we are required to complete continuing education with the state. So not only with our association, but also with the state of Virginia requires continuing education. Not only do we have to get licensed, but also if we want to do inspections on new construction, which is like a foundation inspection when they pour the foundation, pre-drywall inspection when they put the house and they put all the studs up, they wire the electric, they put in the plumbing. There's a pre-drywall before they actually put up the drywall. So those are the phases: foundation, pre-drywall, and a final walkthrough. If we want to do a new construction inspection, we also not only have to be licensed, but we have to be certified, have a certification on our license, which is an NRS certification, which is a new residential structure certification with our license. Builders have got on; they're pretty good about making sure that we have it before we're even on the property. I'm not too familiar with some of the smaller builders, but you want to make sure that your inspector is NRS certified if they're doing an inspection on new construction, because if you're doing a custom builder, they might not ask for that, and you could send them the inspection report, and they look it up and say, wait, this guy wasn't even supposed to be doing an inspection on this property, especially if they get a report and they're like, what the hell is he talking about? They might question it, they might look into it. If he's not NRS certified, they're going to say, hey, this inspection doesn't count. He's not even supposed to be doing this inspection, and now you may have to get another inspection, and you're probably not going to make your clients pay for it. You're going to have to pay for it out of pocket. So just be careful with that when you're dealing with new construction. Home inspection companies, question to ask: have they provided certificates of insurance? Are they insured? Do they have general liability insurance? Do they have errors and omissions insurance? You know, it's not if a home inspector is going to make a mistake, it's when he's going to make a mistake. We are all human. We will fall short. We will make mistakes. Make sure you're working with a company that has integrity, that you can trust, that's accountable when they do make a mistake. Do they have insurance if they make a costly mistake, if they overlook a structural issue? You know, for that rare occurrence where there may be a $40,000 issue, hopefully they have the insurance that'll cover it, because it's very hard for people to reach in their own bank account and pull out $40,000. So make sure you're working with a company that stands behind what they do. I can't speak to other companies, but I know if we ever make a mistake as a home inspection company, we will make it right to you and your clients. Character is very hard to judge when things go well, but it's very easy to judge when things don't go well. So make sure you're working with people that when things don't go well, they're there to support you. They're there for you when you need them. All right. What is the structure of their company? Are they a single man shop? If they're a single man shop and they're out on inspections during the day, are they going to be available to answer questions when you're meeting with your client? You know, you might have to wait to hear from them till nighttime. Especially if they do a morning inspection and your deadline's 9 o'clock that night, and you do a morning inspection, but they're on their second inspection, you're meeting with the client, you can't get a hold of them because he's on that inspection and there's nobody to reach. Are they accessible? Or are they a multi-inspector firm where maybe they have a management staff or inspector on call that's going to be available during the work hours to answer those questions so you can get feedback? Things we don't think about until they happen, but they're very important. Are they likely to be around 2 or 3 years from now? Were they around 2 or 3 years ago? How long have you been in the inspection industry? How long has your company been around? Those are very great questions to ask, because you don't want to use a company that's been around for maybe a year, has no really, or maybe a couple months or 3 months. They do an inspection for your clients. They screw up. Your clients 3 months later realize that they screwed up, and now they're out of business, and you have nobody to really go after or to get that money. So just we have a question. Awesome. Yeah. So the question was, who provides a home inspector? That's a great question. So typically the agent is going to provide the clients with home inspectors that you trust. I know some brokers will say, hey, give them 3 agents, or that you recommend, hey, give them not 3 agents, give them give them a list of 3 home inspectors. But you want to make sure that it's people that you trust. You work so hard. You guys are commission-based sales, so you want like the home inspection can be such an icky item. If you have somebody in there that you don't trust, or your clients found, and you don't have a relationship with, and so you have no idea who's coming in, they could come in and kill the deal by saying something. Oh, well, this is sloped. There could be structural issues, and they have no idea what they're talking about. And now your clients say, oh my God, there could be structural issues. They go home, they phone their family, maybe they talk to their parents, and they call you that night and they say, wait, if there's even structural issues, I don't even want to buy this out. And you're looking at it like, there is no structural issues. Why would that guy say that? There is no structural issues. And even though he might have been the cheapest guy in town, he's killed your deal. And now you have to go take those clients and spend more time showing them houses where you don't get paid, right? We're not in business for free. Anybody that does free work, there's always a catch. No one does free work. So you're not in business to get paid. He kills the deal. Maybe you show them around. Maybe the house that they want isn't on the market. And now they say, you know what? Maybe we're just going to take 2 or 3, 4, 5 months off. And hopefully when they decide to buy again, they call you as the agent. So you missed out after you found them their dream home. You missed out on a transaction. That's how important the home inspection can be. Now, I'm not saying, say, well, it could be a conflict of interest if I recommend a home inspector. Not really. I mean, they sign agreements. Make sure they sign the home inspector agreement to protect you. Make sure you give them a list. But I don't think it's wrong for you to say, hey, here's the list. This is who I would choose, but you make the decision. But I'm telling you to go because you're protecting your money, yourself, because with the company that you work for, if they're trustworthy, that they're going to take care of your clients if something were to happen, right? So we're all in it for together. For us, I'm big business minded. I'm not in it for one deal. If I screw say you're like, Joey, man, just don't mark this on an inspection. Like, I know it's an issue, but please don't mark it. And I screw your clients like that, and they move in and they realize it. One, they're never going to use you for a transaction ever again. They're never going to use me for a transaction again. You might have got paid that commission. I might have got paid that little bit for my home inspection, but that's one deal. I'm in it for the multiple deals. I want you to do 20 deals a year, 30 deals a year, and use and refer me every time. That's the big business. And the way you do that is you treat people the way I'd want to be treated. You treat people well, because then they'll come back and use us again. So I'm not in it for that. We're not in it for that one deal. We want that referral business. I want them to say, man, I want to use you as the agent again because you were awesome. And wow, that home inspector they used, they were great too. I want to use them too. So that's the end game for us. And if I'm unethical in any way and it comes back to bite me, bad news travels faster than good news. More people are willing to tell bad experiences than good experiences. To get good reviews, you really got to ask for them. But man, those bad reviews, they can just come, and they're going to tell not you, they're going to tell everybody they talk to, and depending on how much they steam on it, it could be a lot of people, right? So that's a great question. So I'd always give them a list, and then just tell them, hey, this is who I prefer, and then give them your favorite of the list. To the buyer, yep. So if you're the buyer's agent, you're going to get a home inspection on the home they're purchasing, and so you'd give that to your clients. Yep. So what to look for in an inspection company? Ease of scheduling. It's 2018. Everything should be pretty automated, pretty easy to schedule. Stability of the company, like we kind of talked about. Reports that are clear and understandable. Sometimes we get these home inspection reports, and they're like paragraphs. They're like books. I really don't like those reports because they're not clear. You have to read through information. It should be like this. Here's the issue. Here's a picture of the issue. Here are the issues, and it should be made in layman's terms. You should read it, and your client should read it and be able to understand it. If for some reason you're unable to understand it, there should be a nice color photo in that report. We joke, but there are inspectors out there that handwrite reports. That is crazy. That's not professional, and they're not living in the 2000s. Everything should be like typed. It should be emailed out. I think it should be same day reporting. Anybody that's offering you, oh, the report will be ready in 2 days in 24 hours, I don't think that they're living in 2018. They haven't caught up with the time. So you should have same day reportings. It should be online reports. It should be emailed to you. And they should be clear and understandable. Professional demeanor, we talked about that. Your home inspectors, Home inspectors, when my dad started the company 17 years ago, very blue collar industry. It is now a white collar profession. So it used to be blue collar. It is a white collar profession. And make sure they have comprehensive insurance. Do you have any questions? Any questions for online? Yep. It's new residential structure. Yeah. So we were asked, what was the NRS certification called? It's new residential structure. It's an 8-hour course that us as home inspectors can take online, or we can go into a class to get that certification as part of our license. Inspection format. What inspection is format used? What should the report contain? I think the best reports are reports that have a cover photo, maybe a picture of the house. Then they have a summary of the issues. So if we find marginal defective issues, they're in a summary page. So when you go to write your addendum, there's a list that you can just kind of go down and say, hey, what are we going to ask for? What are the main things, main components we're going to ask for? So there should be a list. Items inspected, items that weren't inspected. What did he look at? What was he unable to look at, or what wasn't part of the inspection? If they're not checked, why weren't they checked? Does the report contain items not functioning as designed? So very important, and pretty much standard inspection reports are going to cover those things. So inspection format, the 3 Ds. We want to detect, we want a description of each concern and condition, explanation of potential ramifications, and direction for resolution. So as long as we're providing that path, hey, what do I as the agent need to tell my clients to do next? Where do I need to go from here? Problem with an HVAC, probably an HVAC contractor, roofer, roofing contractor, plumber, right? So always that. Delivery of the report. When will the report be available? Like I said, should be same day. Everybody that's doing inspection 2018 should be delivering a same day report. How will it be delivered? I think the best way is email. Do we have a question or someone logging on? Okay. Will the inspector be readily accessible for questions about the property or the report after the inspection? Or will they have somebody that can answer those questions on the report? Again, we don't think about it when we're dealing with single man shops or somebody that may be answering in the phones, but is he available when I need him? Or is that company available to answer questions? So very, very important things. Equipping the buyer for the home inspection. So like I said, setting the expectations is probably the most important thing you guys can do as a buyer's agent when the clients are going into the home inspection. That starts when you're showing them the property. Hey, oh my God, what's up with the wall? Why is the carpet ripped up? And that's a perfect time when they start bringing issues up with a house maybe you're looking at. Hey, remember, we are going to get the home inspection, but also remember that the home inspection we're looking for the major items. We're looking for where he's going to be looking at the roof, the HVAC system, the water heater. He's really not doing cosmetic things. He's not really concerned with maybe stains on the wall, stains on the carpet. He's more worried about the high dollar items. So when you move in, you're not going to be faced with a $2,000, $3,000 bill. He's going to look at your foundation, make sure there's no severe structural issues. We're not really too worried about the cosmetic things. Now, if you paid top dollar and you think, well, maybe my clients should get a little bit more, maybe they came in full price, maybe we can ask for a little bit of those things too. But I'd really focus in on the high dollar items, protect your client, and at least set that expectation with them, because the last thing you want to do is never mention that to them. Now they get to the home inspection. That home inspector's he's finding maintenance stuff. He's finding minor issues, and your clients are like, oh, great, the sellers are going to fix them, because maybe they did watch HGTV. Maybe they did hear about an experience where their friend was able to get them to fix everything, but that was a different deal, So this is your deal separate. I'd at least set that expectation. Hey, remember, we're only looking for the high dollar items. That way it gives you, so when the home inspector starts going through, they're prepared for that. And it's not like, oh, yeah, they're going to fix these things, right? Or, oh, hey, home inspector, can you add this too? Because we're trying to get them to fix it, because you've already had that talk. You've already set that expectation. I think a listing agent brought up a great thing when I was doing a presentation, because sometimes if you're ever on the listing side, you'll get a buyer's agent who may never sat through a course like this, may not have that much experience. And a listing agent says, this is what I do every transaction, to set the expectation before the home inspection with the buyer's agent, so they don't just come to me with a laundry list of stuff, because it can be overwhelming, and then it becomes an emotional issue from the sellers and the buyers. And the listing agent said, he goes, I will call the buyer's agent before every home inspection and let them know, hey, I know you're getting the home inspection. Just so you're aware, don't be sending over a list of the whole home inspection report, just the key items that your clients are concerned with. Because if you send over a laundry list of stuff, I can tell you right now, my clients are going to send it right back. Now, be professional, be respectful of them because you're working with that agent. You guys as agents don't have to get emotional like your clients do. But be friendly, be professional, but let them know, hey, my client, I just want to let the expectation know if there's major stuff, we'll fix it. But if I don't expect to see a laundry list of stuff, it'll save you so much of a headache. I guarantee it by setting that expectation I heard that I was like, oh, this is great, because sometimes we get calls from like seller's agent. I can't believe your home inspector was so picky. And I'm like, he must be an alarmist. I'm like, he's really not. We're really not alarmists. We are positive, but I can't help when we find marginal items, home maintenance items, if the buyer's agent asks for that stuff. To me, that's what you're supposed to be doing on the listing agent side. Set that expectation with the buyer's agent. Don't be mad at us for doing our job. We have to find things that we're supposed to find. But I think that's great if you're able to set that expectation on the listing agent side with those buyer's agent, because I think it'll save you headaches. It'll save your clients headaches for the long haul. So I just want to share that because I thought that was great when I heard that. Is there an inspection agreement? Remember, the inspection agreement protects the home inspector and it protects you as the agent. If that is signed, we are protected. So for us, it's all automated. When you schedule an inspection agreement goes right out. Payment link goes right out. So it's easy for your clients to sign the agreement, pay for the order. But the inspection agreement is important. Standards of practice are huge. And how we get those standards of practice is through INTRNACHI or ASHI. INTRNACHI, International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. ASHI, the American Society of Home Inspectors. Scope of the inspection. What is the home inspector looking for? Remember, it's a visual, non-intrusive inspection. Really not looking at cosmetic things, but the functionality of the home. He's going to check the roof. He's going to check the attic. He's going to check the foundation. He's going to check the HVAC system. He's going to run and test all the plumbing in the house that he can get that's accessible. He's going to check every outlet he can get to. We can't move major pieces of furniture to test outlets or windows because of that. We don't own the furniture. We don't own the house the furniture's in, so we can't move major pieces of furniture. But we're going to test every outlet we can get to, every window, every interior door, the functioning of the home, all the appliances, right? Our outbuildings, pools, spas, in-law quarters to be inspected. Typically, home inspection companies will charge an extra cost to inspect a barn, to inspect a pool, to inspect maybe they have a detached garage with an apartment above it. Typically, those are going to be extra costs. You want to be very careful if maybe you've worked with a home inspection company and you're like, oh yeah, this home inspection it should be like around $500. We did a house like this before, and you're quoting the price that they should call the office to do. Remember, right? They're looking at you as the professional. So when you say something, they hang on it, right? So now they call, you say, oh, it's only $500. Now they call the home inspection company, and the home inspector, you're like, oh my God, I got a quote for like $900 because they decided to get a radon inspection. There was a pool, and they decided to get the pool. There not only was there attached garage, but there was a detached garage, and that was another $150 charge. So that $550 for the home inspection now went to $900. So just be cautious of that. You know, let the professionals quote the prices. Yeah. Yeah. So typically a single family is going to be around $500. Townhouses between $400 to $500. And then condos $300 to $400. And it all depends on, for us, it depends on age and square footage. Really not concerned with sales price. We're probably going to ask for the sales price because we have a database, so we want to know statistics of what properties we're doing and what areas we're doing. But it's more about the age of the house and the size of the house. And we need to know that information because I care not about the sales price, but how long my inspector is going to be there. Typically, if it's older and bigger, we're going to be there longer. Inspection should take about 2 to 4 hours. If somebody's spending 5 or 6, 7 hours on a home inspection and the house is not a multi-million-dollar mansion or a estate out of Middleburg, that is crazy. You know, remember, we're doing a visual, non-intrusive inspection, not cosmetic things. So it should be pretty 2 to 3 hours. Typically, it's always on the high side. Maybe you have a first-time home buyer and we're answering a lot of questions. That's really what takes the longest, is answering the questions. But we encourage it. We want to answer those questions. So typically 2 to 4 hours to answer your question. Okay. What if the inspector finds problems or concerns? Again, you're setting the expectation with your client. No house is perfect. The home inspector is going to find issues. I would definitely say that to him. Even if you were buying a new construction house, he would still find issues. I could probably have done over, I don't even know. This year we did about 4,000 home inspections. At the years we've been in business, I can probably name less than 5 times where we actually found nothing on a home inspection. It's not because we want to find stuff, or not, it's because that's how rare it is that you don't find issues on homes. Go around your house, there's issues there. We live with them, but there are some little concerns, maybe maintenance items that need to be fixed, some things that need to be corrected. So just prepare. Most inspectors will find concerns, whether it's newer house, old house, large house. And remember, 95% of everything that we find can be fixed or corrected. And let them know, this isn't HGTV. Bad news sells, good news doesn't. That's why there's always like bad news on TV. 95% of everything we find is manageable. The stuff you see on HGTV are outlier situations. Those are outliers. Those rarely happen. Buyer freakout syndrome, again, set that expectation. If the buyer chooses, they will find a house with concerns they can live with, and someone else will buy the first house. Again, inspectors, it's very important inspectors are not killing deals or involved in that. If 95% of the time things are manageable, inspectors really should never kill deals, right? Now, there might be some things where an inspector might find something where it may cost $10,000. The sellers aren't going to do anything about it, and they say, you know what? I don't need that headache. We're going to move out. But that should be very rare with the inspection company you're using, and you want to make sure your buyers are happy. So if they don't want to move into a house, but they shouldn't move into a house because of something the inspector said or gave his opinion about. Does that make sense? Oh, I would never buy this house. And now the buyer's like, oh, I don't want to buy this house, unless there's an actual reason, costly reason not to. So set that expectation in the beginning to avoid the buyer freakout syndrome. Should the buyer attend the inspection? Definitely. I think if the buyer is there, they're seeing things, they're hearing from the inspector. It's so much nicer when they hear from the inspector first, and then you get to sit down with them and negotiate, because that inspector is going to put things in perspective for them. So does the client need to be present for the whole inspection? I believe they do. If for some reason they have work, they have responsibilities that they have to attend to, at least get them there at the end of the inspection so the home inspector can go over the issues that he found. Be respectful of the home inspector's time. So if he spent 2-3 hours there, it's not realistic for him to then go around the property for another hour to just show your clients things. But at least go over the issues that he found in the summary page of the report. And that way, if the buyer wants to see something, he can maybe put eyes on it and see it while the inspector's there. Who should the buyer bring to the inspection? Anybody that it will not be a distraction to the buyer or the purchasers of the house. I understand. I have kids. I have dogs. I have family members. But if they're going to distract that buyer, I would just say, hey, if you're able to leave your kids at home, you want to make sure you're attentive for the inspection. If you're able to leave, I know your family wants to come see the house, but I don't want them to distract you, because it's very important that you're seeing the house and understanding the house and being educated on the house that you're purchasing. It does them a disservice if they have to bring their kids, that's fine. It doesn't bother us as the inspector. It just will drag their attention away. So anybody that's not dragging their attention away is fine. They want to bring somebody they trust, a contractor, maybe they know, a father, father-in-law, mom, parents. More than happy. We're more than happy to have you. No animals. Yeah, we'll get there. So anybody that won't be a distraction. Answer your client's questions. Even the best inspectors do not know things. Even the most seasoned agents may not know things. I remember I was working with my dad. It was early on, and when he started doing home inspection, and we had this very successful agent. Man, I felt like we did like 50 inspections for him a year. It was ridiculous. And I was like, and I'm just young. I would think I was in like high school, maybe beginning of college, and I was like, Kevin, what's the one secret? Why do you think you're so successful? Can you give me shed light on it? He goes, you know what, Joey? I never acted like I knew something when I didn't know it. He goes, and I told the clients that, and I said, if I didn't know an answer to something, I told him I didn't know, but I'll get an answer for you. And he goes, people respected me so much more when I did that. It was unbelievable. He goes, I didn't pretend to know things. And when you pretend to know something, some people can look at you and say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Did you see? He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then now you've lost trust, and now you'll never get it back. So even the most seasoned inspectors will not know things. You know, we might have to call somebody. We might have to research. But as long as we get that answer for your clients in a timely fashion, or you're able to get the answer for your clients in a timely fashion, people are so happy that you took the time to figure something out for them, and they appreciate you so much more. So the inspector should be able to point the clients in the right direction to solve any mysteries. Good inspectors provide solutions, or at least the path to the solution for your clients. Explain the buyer their options for dealing with conditions that inspector may discover. Advise the buyer who is responsible for any property damage caused during the home inspection. Our company, if we cause damage on an inspection, maybe we're opening up a window blind and the window blind like falls down and breaks, or maybe we're screwing in an electric panel and thing sparks, or something happy hit a wire with the thread of the screw. It's our belief as a company, if we don't leave the property as we found it, we need to make it right. You know, that's just a policy that we've installed in our company, because no one should have to come home to a property that we went in and didn't leave it as we found it, and that's how we are. So make sure if your property inspector does cause damage, that he's willing to fix it. If he does something wrong, he's not putting blame on somebody, and he's accepting responsibility. Should the seller have immediate access to the inspection report? So when we're doing an inspection for the buyer's agent and your client, you as the buyer's agent and your client, the buyer, you guys get access to that report first. We will not discuss the report with a listing agent or a seller of a property unless we have written permission from you guys, because that is your report to discuss with the buyer, and then you can take that information if you choose to and pass it along to the seller, the listing agent, or the sellers. It's not on us to do that. If sometimes we'll do a home inspection and the buyers will be there, you guys will be there because you're the buyer's agent, and then the listing agent will show up, or maybe the sellers are in the house. Sellers really shouldn't be at a home inspection, and the listing agent really shouldn't be at the property, because it's your time, it's the buyer's time to see that property and to openly ask that home inspector questions about the home inspection. If they're there and when there's nothing we can do about it, again, as long as it doesn't affect our job as a home inspector, we could care less who's there. But we will not discuss what we find. We will not discuss the report in front of that listing agent or seller's agent. I've had savvy listing agents, they show up at the end. Oh, I'm just here for the summary report. And I have to say, hey, what? I have to excuse us and say, hey, I have to go over the report with them first, and then it's up to them if they want to pass it along to you. And I've had to go out onto the deck, down in the basement, because they won't leave us to do that. So we protect your clients, we protect their information, those findings, and then it's you as the agent and them as the buyers. If they want to choose to pass that information along, they can. The listing agent has questions. We're going to ask that you provide written and an email, written, that it's okay for us to discuss those report findings with them. We got in trouble one time because we had somebody call in about the inspection report. The inspector didn't know transaction coordinator, just sent it right to the inspector. Inspector didn't realize who he was talking to like the seller of the house. Got back to the buyer's agent, very upset. We improved what we were doing, right? So now we need written permission for that. Again, advise the buyer on the time spent in the inspection, 2 to 4 hours, depending on the issues. Explain to the buyer that the summarization of the inspection is the most crucial part. As long as if they can't be there for the inspection, hopefully they're for the summarization. If they're out of town overseas, let's see if we can get them on a phone call. So that inspector, right when he gets done, hey, can you call my buyers? They're waiting on the call. Can you let them know? Because it's so much better if they hear it from the inspector's mouth first, if it's an inspector you trust, right? They hear it from the inspector's mouth first before you get on the phone and talk to them about the inspection report. Make arrangements for the inspection fee. Typically, home inspectors are going to get paid at the time of the inspection. We do not get paid at settlement. It is at time of the inspection. With us, it's very easy. you schedule the inspection, your client schedule the inspection, inspection agreement goes out, payment link goes out, and it's up to them to pay. Before they can even view the report, it's all automated. We upload the report, gets sent out, they click view report, they haven't signed the agreement or paid yet, they'll be directed to sign the agreement and pay before they can even view the report. Advising the seller. What is the inspector going to do or not do? So set the expectation for your seller. Hey, he's going to, if you're the listing agent, he's going to have a laundry list of stuff. He's going to come in. Don't get too emotional. You know, I know you think your house is perfect, but he is going to find stuff. It's very rare when they don't find issues. Your house is going to have issues. So set that expectation so they don't get like, see this list. How could this inspector tell me that my house looks like this? But remember that they should always, and they're following a standard of practice. Remember, we're not really looking at cosmetic things. We're looking at the big stuff. When will the seller get a copy of the report? Again, the buyers are going to get it immediately from us. Right after the inspection, we email out the report. But the sellers, that's up to the buyers and the buyer's agent when they get that, or if they get it. So what are the ramifications of the inspector findings? Conditions now are disclosed on the property. So if we find major issues, it's known now. So even if they back out of the deal, and we found maybe a structural issue and your client's backed out of the deal, the next buyers that come through, the sellers and listing agent have an obligation to now disclose that information to them. So as you're negotiating, realize that too. Hey, this issue is going to show up again when the next buyers come through. You have to disclose it. Some findings may be negotiated between the buyer and the seller. So again, you've prepared them. You guys know the nature of the deal because you negotiate, so you know what you're willing to ask for and negotiate with. Some conditions may be corrected, and sometimes the listing agent or the sellers are going to say, "We're not doing that. Sorry." So it may depend on what the seller and buyer have agreed to in the purchase agreement. Inspector responsibility. Respect the property. Do not damage. Leave the property as we found it. Answer the buyer's questions about the report after the report has been issued, not the sellers unless we have written agreement. Some courtesies may be offered depending on the agreement between buyer and inspector. Copy the report to the buyer and or their agent, an explanation of findings. I think when it says seller, it means buyer. How an inspection benefits the seller. Make sure if you are the listing agent that all the utilities are on. If they are not on, it may result in more time it takes to close the transaction and another visit for the inspector and potentially a fee paid from the listing agents or from the sellers because they didn't have the property in ready condition for the inspection. What happens when areas or components are not accessible or shut down could result in another inspection, more time, and another fee. And it's an inconvenience for all parties. It doesn't make people happy when things are not the way that they should be, especially when they've taken time to schedule the inspection for their clients. If you guys are the listing agent and there's areas that shouldn't be accessed for whatever reason, make sure that's agreed upon before the home inspection, and that those are all handled. All right. Provide clear and unrestricted access. These are important areas of inspection. Make sure attics, crawl spaces, electrical panels, garages, closets, gates, yards, furnaces, and water heaters are all accessible. Sometimes if there's no back exit of the house and they have a gate or a fence around the house, sometimes they're locked. We can always hop over a fence, but sometimes I see it underneath decks. They'll have like a storage area and they'll have it locked and we can't even get underneath that deck or underneath the storage area. That could be concerning for your clients, and that may result in us coming back. But attics, furnaces, water heaters, HVAC systems, we want to make sure that are very easily accessible. Water mains, exterior hose bib shutoffs, we're going to be looking at all those things. If we can't locate a water main in the house, we probably might have to come back, or you might have to say, hey, can you direct my clients to or you might have to say to the sellers, can you direct my clients where the water main is so they know how to shut off the water, because those are very important things that need to be known. I love dogs, I love cats, I love all sorts of animals, but the person purchasing the house may not like dogs or animals. So if you're the listing agent, make sure that they are crated up, or maybe get a pet sitter for the day. On the home inspection, we are opening up doors, windows, all that sort of things. I went to the inspection and it said, please do not let the cats out. It had a CATS on it. And so I'm finishing up the inspection, and I open up the front door, and I think to lock it or whatever, and I look outside, I'm like, oh my God, there's a cat out there. I'm like, how many cats are in the house? And they're like, oh, there's only one in the house. I'm like, oh my God, we let a cat. How'd the cat get out? And I'm literally chasing this cat around the neighborhood, probably for like 10 minutes. And I'm like, couldn't get the darn thing. And then the buyer's agent calls the listing agent and finally got her on the phone. And she's like, Joey, there's only one cat. I'm like, oh my God. The neighbors probably are like, why is this crazy man chasing our cat? Like, what is going on? So we don't want to let animals out. Another time we have to radon. If we're doing a radon inspection, we have to leave the box for 48 hours or the machine for 48 hours. And so I typically sometimes will drop it before an inspection. So I'm dropping it before an inspection, and I ring the doorbell. I had a code to get in. There was like an access, like a little code. I just had to put the code in. But I ring the doorbell, and I hear barking upstairs. And again, I love dogs. I love all kinds of dogs. But I like look up in the window, and it's like this white pit bull with a pink nose looking down at me barking. And I'm like, I love dogs. I love them. But I'm going to walk into his house, his territory, and I'm a guy, like I don't want to get bit. I really don't. And so I call the listing agent, and I'm like, hey, there's a dog in the house. She goes, oh, don't worry. He's so friendly. I'm like, oh, God. So now I felt like I had to do it. I'm like, oh, he's friendly. I can't be like a coward and not go in. I go in, and thank God it was like a townhouse where you walk up the steps and then walk back down to get to the basement. But then there were stairs up that way. And so I walk up, and thank God the dog was more scared of me. And I'm just being friendly, like, oh, hey. I got his name. I forget what his name was. I'm saying his name. And he was more scared of me than I was of him, thank God. And he just like backed up the stairs but didn't turn and just looking at me. And I go up, I go down. I'm like, and right when I went down, I'm like, I know I'm going to get bit in the butt. I just feel it. And he didn't, thank God, but made it out of there alive. But some inspector that was dropping the radon or a radon dropper might have said, hey, I'm not doing that. And that might have resulted in to a day later where he has to drop it. Now that radon machine has to sit another day, maybe past the home inspection, maybe past the contingency, and now you have to get an extension on your contingency, and it's aggravating, right? So just be careful of that. So there's some couple stories where animals are in the house. So things the inspector will ask for, typically with our company, this is all going to be handled when you guys schedule or your clients schedule. Contact information, property details, inspection agreement, instructions regarding who the report can be released to, and all that information. Payment, cash, check, credit card, Bitcoin. No, I'm just kidding. But cash, check, credit card, we take it all. But some inspectors may not take credit card. Maybe they just take check. Maybe they just take cash. So just be aware, make sure whoever you're using that they do take credit card. I mean, again, it's 2018, so we assume every place takes credit card, but you'd be surprised. Some places still don't. It amazes me. My mother-in-law has a house in Colonial Beach, and we'll walk to like the little boardwalk area in Colonial Beach, and then it's like cash only. I'm like, you're wasting business because I can go to the next store over here and I can pay with a credit card, even though there's a fee. I would have went to your place because I like the food better. Like, so everybody should take credit card. Hopefully, make sure there's access to the property. Utilities on, pets removed or crated. What about repairs? Again, most inspectors do not prescribe how something should be repaired, but rather what the end result should be. Repairs vary widely in quality and price. We are out in Falls Church. Home inspectors should not be quoting repairs, estimation of repairs. Sometimes I've seen reports where, oh, this fixed $200-$300, like that is crazy. Nowhere in our training, in the test that we took with the national test, does it tell us how to estimate repairs or cost of repairs. To me, that is totally unethical if you have an inspector that is quoting cost of something. Should never happen. Because if I'm doing inspection out in Winchester and Falls Church, to remodel a bathroom, it's probably $3-4 grand. If I'm out in Falls Church, it's probably like $7-8 grand. So we have to be very careful. We do not quote prices of repairs. And again, there may be several different acceptable repair methods that vary widely in cost, and home inspectors cannot do repairs. We can only inspect. It is such a conflict of interest if we're doing inspections and then we're saying, oh, I can refer you out to this company. we shouldn't be referring business out to anybody because you don't want kickback. I don't see it too much in the home inspection industry. I see it very often in the mold industry. So many companies are doing a mold inspection, and then they also do the remediation cost. That is a huge conflict of interest. Nobody can call something mold unless it's been tested. And so many times do I see inspectors or contractors come in and they say, oh, you have mold, and that's like a reason for them to charge $2 or $3 grand more to fix it because they use scare tactics. Black mold is not a type of mold. There's no such thing as black mold. Yeah, mold can be black, but that is not a type of mold. So if somebody's like, oh, you got black mold, that means nothing. What kind of mold is it? The reason why we think black mold is a type of mold is because the media about 7 years ago made a big deal about a type of mold that happens to be black called Stachybotrys. And when they made this big deal, everyone had, oh my God, black mold. It's been known to cause asthma. If you have long-term exposure, it can cause terminal illness and all this beautiful things. But just beware of that. If you are the listing agent or you're an agent and a contractor comes in and says you have mold and they don't have lab results or they did a mold inspection, be very cautious on having your clients pay any amount of money to them. That is a huge red flag, especially if they're throwing around the term black mold. I see people get taken advantage of every single day when it comes to mold. It happens often, like once a week. If somebody's like, oh, we found mold. We've even done home inspections where contractor comes in, oh, there's mold in the ductwork in your kid's bedroom. Getting a call, how could you miss this? It's molded. It's in my kid's bedroom. I'm like, I'm sending somebody out to test for it right now. Test for it. And I call my inspector right after he got done. He goes, Joey, it was dust. He goes, I still took a swab of it just so we can show it was dust. So be very cautious. Be very cautious. As a home inspector, anybody, if I see like what appears to be mold, I can say there appears to be visible mold, but I can't validate that it is mold unless I have a lab result to back it up. So just be cautious of that. Is the home inspection a guarantee? No, it is a snapshot of the home in its current condition. We do not have a crystal ball. I can't tell you when things are going to break down after the fact. I can't tell you, you may move in and the AC may not stop working. I can't control those issues. If it was working at the time, it may not. So it's just a snapshot of the home in its current condition that day. But again, if we fall short of that expectation or we miss something, I think that home inspector should make it right to your clients. But it is not a guarantee. What is a home inspection? Again, visually examine the readily accessible areas, and we're testing for functionality. And hopefully we're following our standard of practice. Available for visual inspection without requiring moving of personal property, dismantling. We shouldn't be moving major pieces of furniture to test things. Why aren't home inspectors more picky? Because we are following a standard of practice. That tells us what we're required to do and what we're not supposed to do. So you don't want, home inspectors are not a free fall. So you don't want us just going in there, oh yeah, look, there's a mark, and we have like this long list. One, if it's a good seller's agent or listing agent, they're gonna like laugh at us and discredit us right away because hopefully they're familiar with those standards of practice. So we're not picky, and that's a good thing. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions online? Can I just take 1 second? So what makes our home inspection company a little bit different than your typical home inspection is, number one, every home inspection that you get with Donofrio and Associates is backed by a structural engineer. So if one of our inspectors sees structural issues, our structural engineer will come out free of charge and write up a structural report for you and your clients. So if you had like a standard home inspector come out and he sees a crack in a foundation wall, he goes, oh, there's a crack in the foundation wall. He's going to always recommend an evaluation by a structural engineer. That will cost your clients probably $500, $600, $700, depending on who does that structural inspection. With us, if we see a crack in the foundation wall and we think it's a structural issue, our engineer will come out free for your clients. A lot of times we're taking pictures with our phones, sending it to him and getting an answer right then if he even needs to come out. What that does is it puts buyers at ease. If you have first-time home buyers, puts them at ease so they don't go talk to their family right after the home inspection and back out of a deal, right? We also offer a 90-day warranty with every home inspection. So if one of our inspectors, we test something, your clients move in, 2 weeks later, dishwasher starts leaking, HVAC breaks down, there's coverage on that. It's a limited warranty, so it's only a couple $100 of repair. It's not if we miss something. If we miss something, that's totally different. Like I said, we will make it right. But if an issue does happen after the inspection, we have coverage on that. My favorite is our 1-year roof protection plan. If your clients move into a house and we mark everything has to be marked acceptable in the report to be covered under a warranty, roof's marked acceptable, 11 months and 30 days later, maybe one day it rained and it was 60 degrees, then the next day it's windy and 25 degrees, and that freezing causes a leak in the roof, we'll give them a $200 credit to help repair that leak. Again, like I said before, these warranties are great. It's a unique selling point. It's not if we make a mistake. If we make a mistake, totally different. We will own up to it, and we will make it right to your clients. We provide a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you use us for a home inspection and you're not satisfied with our home inspector, or your clients are not satisfied with the home inspector, we'll refund the inspection fee, and we'll send somebody out to make sure that they're happy with their purchase. We're an A+ rated business with the Better Business Bureau. I love all the good reviews we have online. You can always check us out. But I also like when we fall short of expectations, because that shows us where we're weak at. And that gives us room to improve. Good reviews are great, but if you don't learn from them, just boost your ego. Bad reviews are great too, because we can take that thing and learn from those things. So we love all types of feedback. We don't get mad when somebody writes a bad review, but we try to correct it and we try to move forward and grow. And we'd love to grow with you guys. So as you guys grow as agents, feel free to give us a call. Even if you have questions on something, maybe you haven't done a transaction or you have questions about the home inspection process, be more than happy to answer those questions. You could always email us and contact us. We'd be more than happy to help you out in any way we can. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much.
So I want to ask you a question, Joey.
Yeah.
So you're at a home inspection and you see that the roof is damaged.
Yep.
Okay. Are you a roofing company? Would you come in and repair that roof?
No.
And why is that?
Because it's a huge conflict of interest for us to find issues to then come in and fix them.
That is one of the things I love about Donofrio & Associates, is that they are not contractors in any other field. Where some of the contractors, some of the inspectors, and now since the new law in 2017, it's kind of put a clamp on some of that.
Yeah.
But they also did that type of work. So they were an HVAC company, for example, who also did home inspections. They generally found something wrong with the HVAC.
Yeah, I mean, no house is perfect. There's always can be tweaks. I mean, my car's older. I'm sure I take it into a shop. They could fix some things on it, but it doesn't need to be fixed, right? So does it function for what it's supposed to be doing? That's the key.
Now, one of the things, having worked with you guys a lot over the last few years, one of the things I really appreciate is the fact that your dad addresses this, but they have a method when you do a home inspection where you go in a certain direction.
Yep.
Right? So you want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, exactly. So the reason why home inspections really don't take too long for us, again, 2 to 4 hours, is that your inspector should be in a routine when he's inspecting your property. Literally, I walk into a house and I am like a trained dog with my routine. It's crazy. When you start getting a routine, it's like you flow through it. People are like, Joey, do you remember that last house? No, they all run together because of the routine I'm in. But yeah, so we do the exterior. We'll do the exterior first. We'll walk around the exterior. Then we come in, we run and test your mechanical systems, your HVAC, your water heater. And we're going to explain this to your buyers at the beginning of the inspection so they know the order of operations. And so they're not pulling us, because sometimes buyers can come in and say, oh, did you look at this over here? Did you look at this over here? And we have to say, hey, remember what I told you in the beginning? I'm going to stay in my set routine. And that ensures that we don't miss anything. That set routine where I'm not just bouncing around, not only does it speed up the inspection, but it makes sure that we're like doing the job that you want us to do for your clients. So we're going to do the exterior, mechanical systems, and then we're literally going to work clockwise or in a circular motion from the basement all the way up through the house, running and testing everything. And that's exactly what we do. So if you ever have an inspector and he's like, boom, 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 boom. One, hopefully you brought your iPad because you're going to be there for a long time. And the likelihood of him missing something has just increased because he's bouncing around and doesn't know what he's hitting. So just be careful.
So in your job as agents, buyer's agents, is to be there to support your client. You're required to be there under your realtor code of ethics. You can't just let the inspector and the client go on their own. It's your job to be there. They're long. You can bring other work to do. I would encourage your clients, as Joey stated, if they can't be there for the entire time, certainly come the last portion, certainly the last hour. And in that case, in my opinion, that's hour 2. Now, the inspection starts at 9 a.m. My experience with Donofrio Associates, they are there outside prior to 9. They're usually ready to walk in the house at 9 a.m. So you as an agent need to be there for them at that time. And if your client is late coming, the inspection still starts at 9 a.m. They do not wait for your client to show up because they have a schedule to keep. So you're there with them. You do not have to follow the inspector around yourself. You can choose to. I would keep the chit-chatting down to a minimum.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, your clients can certainly ask questions, and if they do see something, the thing I love that his father has taught everyone, and I'm sure Joey's been very involved in this, being with his dad all these years, that if Ed were to walk in and see that that outlet over there was crooked and it wasn't GFI and it's not grandfathered, Ed would not say, "Oh my gosh!" And that's the thing that really separates them from a lot of other companies. They're not reactive.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We're positive, upbeat, everything's manageable. You know, it's not our job or our opinion to persuade your clients. Like I said, if somebody, the reason why you want to be there is when they say, "Hey, Joey, should this be fixed?" I want to point them right to you and say, "That's a great question for your agent." They're going to tell you whether that should be fixed or not. I'm just reporting black or white. They take our information and they negotiate it. Same thing, even when you start getting comfortable with home inspections, because they're looking at you as a professional. The last thing you ever want to do is say, "Hey, is that crack anything?" "Oh, no, that's nothing. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's just cosmetic." And the home inspector gets there and says, "Oh my God, not only is it the crack, but look above, the ceiling separating. Look below, the floors are separating. You have a structural issue." And now you've told your clients that it was nothing. Your clients, hopefully they're good people, but you never know. And they could say, "You just wanted to sell me this house and you were trying to," and they could get mad at you. So you've created tension that didn't need to be there because they looked at you as a professional. And now I'm telling them structural. You said it was not structural, and now they're at odds with you, right? So you just have to be very careful. Make sure you let the experts in their field do their job, and hopefully it's people you trust, because that's how you can really rely on people, right? If you don't trust them, then you're probably going to be skeptical. But if you trust them, then I point your clients to that direction. Say, "Hey, that's a great question for the home inspector," just like we would do for the agent.
Another way you can use the home inspection companies is from the seller's perspective. Okay, so I have a good case in point. My business partner and I, we had a property in Springfield that had been vacant for about 8 years, but full of stuff. The son just was paralyzed, did not know what to do. Was waiting for the market to recover. And so once everything got cleaned out of the house, there still remained a really strong smell. So having worked with Ed and Donofrio over time, I knew they had the air quality test.
Mm-hmm.
But then we also observed cracks all over the walls and stuff. So we said to our client, "Look, we want to put your house on the market. We want to get the best deal, but there's some issues that we need to overcome here." I personally couldn't even go inside the house. It bothered me so much. And so he agreed, and it was just under $1,000. Ed came out, did the structural inspection, ran the air quality test, and we got the results. There was no structural issues. Though above the fireplace there was a big crack. There was no issues with the chimney, because after the earthquake in Mineral, Virginia, there were a lot of chimneys that were affected along the Springfield-Annandale corridor, as well as the Memorial in D.C. So the confidence that gave us in going forward and putting it on the market was that we were able to provide right up front online all those reports. And the people who purchased it called and spoke to Donofrio Associates to get clarification on the air quality test, what it meant. There was some mild mold. It was not black mold, as Joey said. Yeah. And what others thought was mold was, in fact, dirt.
Yep, exactly.
Just black dirt.
Yeah, you never know, especially older houses. I mean, I was doing an inspection, and this company was walking around, and this guy that worked for this company was walking around, and it's an older house. It's 1950s. And in the unfinished area, he looks up between two joists, and there's discoloration. Not like that it looked necessarily mold, but it's just discolored. Like it's something that you'd expect to find in an older house. And he's like, oh, I found mold, but don't worry, we can take care of it for you. And I would never discredit somebody as they're doing their work. But if they want to cheat people, that's up to them. I'm never going to like step in the way when they're doing their work of business. But I did walk over to the agent at the end, and I said, what was the quote to clean that substance or that discoloration? $1,800. Couldn't believe it. There was no air quality test taken. There was no swab sample taken. $1,800. Bleach, water, scrub. Like, oh my God, if it's not in the air, like, and it wasn't, the house didn't smell moldy. You know, it was probably not even mold. I would have probably stuck a swab up and it would have been no fungi detected. $1,800. The clients didn't have to pay it. They were going to negotiate the seller. So hopefully their listing agent realized, wait, there's no mold report. There's no lab. Wait a second. I'm going to pay $400 to get an air quality test so my clients don't have to spend $1,800. We'll spend the $400 and get this taken care of rather than 18. Like crazy.
And because of the education that I personally and working with agents have learned from this company, is I was on the listing side once where the other side produced this report about the mold. It was in the HVAC system. It was all this. And I said, great. Thank you for the report. Now, we're not going to give any credit for that until you have an air quality test done and produce that document for me.
Yep.
Because there is no visible smell, and I'm a good detector for that.
Yeah, right.
But you don't always smell mold either, and we're willing to work on it. But we also knew that it wasn't mold, you know. And so again, this is the education that I really appreciated from.
Yeah. Mold. So what's one of those things that can be so costly, and that's why there's companies out there that use it as a scare tactic. They use it to take advantage of people. Because a normal duct cleaning is $300, but you have mold in it, that can go up to like $15, $18, $2,000. And you have these companies that come in. I mean, I've heard the same horror stories too. Groupon apps are the worst. If you get a $40 duct cleaning on a Groupon app, that guy is a walking salesman. He's coming in to sell you on the full duct cleaning, because the duct cleaning should be like $300 to $400, maybe more than that, $500, depending on the size. He's gonna look at your HVAC system. He's going to look at all these other things, and he's going to give your clients a quote for like $1,500, $1,800, and he's probably going to find mold or something in the ductwork to up that price because he's getting paid the commission on that. So just be very, very careful when we get these deals. Nobody does free work.
Right. And lastly, could you just talk briefly about asbestos tiles, whether in the floor or the ceiling, and if they're in the home and there's no breakage, what do you do as an inspection company?
Yeah, so asbestos, again, we're really not like testing for asbestos or those things, but as long as it's not disturbed, it's exactly like lead. If asbestos is not disturbed, if lead's undisturbed, and you're not doing renovations to the home, and it's not broken and it's not dusty and in the air, there's really nothing that needs to be done to those asbestos. Now, if your clients are moving in and you know that they're going to be doing renovations right away, then that's a different story, right? Then they're going to have to make sure that there's going to be a cost to fix it. It's going to be a higher cost to get this stuff remediated because of the procedures that they're going to have to.
So if you're looking at floor tile in a basement and they're 9x9s and there's no breakage, are you as a home inspector going to say to the buyer and the buyer's agent, oh, that's asbestos tile?
No, great question. So I can't call something asbestos. Again, it's kind of like mold. It has to be tested. For me to make an assumption is silly. So it would have to be tested for it. So if the floors look great and they're in great shape, they're functioning as designed, right? So the functionality of them is good. Home inspectors, and this is very important, home inspections are not code inspections. They're functionality inspections. In Virginia, if you have a home inspector who quotes code in a home inspection report, says this needs to be fixed per code, you could literally take that report, send it to DPOR, and they will be fined for citing code in the home inspection report. We're not doing code inspections. Yes, we'll still bring up potential code issues because there might be safety concerns. There's no GFCI outlet in a kitchen. There's no GFCI outlet in the bathroom. Those will be brought up, but we will not say per code. We're going to say, hey, this is a safety issue. You want to get this corrected because if I have water on my hand, I plug something in, it's not GFCI protected, I could potentially get shocked.
Okay, guys, write this date down. What's the date for the grandfather for the
GFCI is 1990. Is it good?
1990.
1990. So yeah, so houses that are built prior to 1990 do not have to have the ground fault circuit interrupters in the kitchen. Houses built after 1990, they do have to have ground fault circuit interrupters in the kitchen and bathrooms.
Yes, it's.
Yeah, that's the national. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So where that
That's
comes
a
into
residential
play
electric
for
code.
you as a listing agent, if you have an inspector representing the buyer who gets all up in an arm, gets the buyer and the buyer's agent up in an armor over the fact that there's no JFCI in the kitchens and the bathrooms, look at the date of the home. And you can certainly say it's not a huge amount of money to fix it or change it. But you can certainly say this is grandfathered and we are not required.
Yeah.
Again, it's all negotiable, but sometimes they'll have a tendency, some other home inspections, to make a big deal because that might be one of the only few things they can find really wrong in a home inspection. And I've had that a time or two myself.
Yeah, exactly. The good thing is that it's not costly to do. We've had houses that are built really early on and they only have the 2-prong outlets. You know, as long as you don't do major renovations to something, to a room, it does not have to be brought up to current code. So if you remodel an entire kitchen, okay, that kitchen should be brought up to current code. You know, my uncle-in-law is a deck builder. If he adds stairs and the deck codes are ridiculous. Like if he adds stairs to a deck, he has to bring it up to current code. He goes, Joey, like every year they change the code on us. Like, why are you in this business? It's crazy. They change the code on him, so he always has to add things, do things differently. From a home inspection standpoint, if I go into and I see a deck, it's structurally sound. There's no safety issues. I'm not citing that it needs to be brought up to code. Now, if there's something structurally wrong, if it's not lag bolted to a house, if there's no carriage bolts, yeah, I'm going to recommend that you lag bolt it and carriage bolt it. But if it's functioning as it was designed to function and it's not a safety threat, it doesn't have to be brought up to code. Houses are expensive enough to keep things up to code, and when they change every 2 years, it's crazy. It's silly, right?
Right. Anyone, any questions online or in class? All right. Well, if not, we'll take a break until 10:30, and then we'll get back into our listing agreement.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. What do you usually see is
Okay, hello everyone. We're back on here and get started. We're on page 33 of your book and paragraph 11. So for those of you who we were off mic for a few minutes, we brought up the discussion about radon. So one of the things that you want to make sure is that you are not advising your client whether to seek a radon testing or not, because radon can be found anywhere. And as I've known from the past from Donofrio Associates, it has been found in a third floor condo. So just keep that in mind, and we'll get into that more next week. Okay. So we've gone over the types of real estate representation already in the buyer's agreement. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this unless someone has any questions about it. But basically, you're still seeking your client's permission as a listing agent and explaining to them that designated representation means that anyone in your brokerage can purchase their property. Dual agency is stating that you can also represent the purchaser. And again, I caution you to be very careful about that. But if you read down here, it says, in addition, an additional disclosure is required before designated or dual representation is to occur for a specific transaction. So there is a form for designated representation within the brokerage, and then there is the dual representation for the agent themselves. So just be careful that if you do have someone in the office who you are sharing that you're both people in the same office, same brokerage, are representing two different parties, you use the designated representation. Okay, and we'll get to all the miscellaneous forms toward the end of the week of February 5th, 8th, and 9th. Okay. All right, so broker's compensation. So unlike the buyer's agreement, you are negotiating here with your seller for the commission that you, as the listing broker, are going to receive and then share with the buyer's brokerage, the selling brokerage. So if, for example, this happens often, and not necessarily with new agents, about a year ago, a very experienced agent had done this. I caught it before it got signed by the broker, and they were able to go back and correct it. It's one of those momentary things where they just weren't thinking. So on line 12, paragraph 12, line A, it says payment. Seller shall pay broker in cash total compensation of, and that listing agent had put 3% there. Skipping down to paragraph B, buyer compensation was 3%. So what do you think the implication of that was? The listing agent was not going to get paid. Okay, so it's the total compensation because the seller is agreeing to with the listing broker. This is Virginia law. Other states may have different language, so we're looking at Virginia language, okay? In my particular case example, I believe that's the problem, is that they were used to writing stuff in other states. So here, it is simply that if your negotiated commission is 6%, which is the customary amount, it doesn't mean you can't ask for 7%. We had an agent in our office some time back, and she would say 7%, and but I'll give you a break at 6%. Okay, so they felt like they were saving, and that was just her spiel, and it was very effective. And sometimes she got her 7%. Okay, she usually kept 4 for the listing side and 3 for the purchaser side because that was customary to what they were receiving. Again, as we mentioned before, if you're charging the flat commission, then it goes here on the same line. So if you're writing in your books, you would say 6% plus either using the plus sign or the word plus, and then whatever the amount of money you're using for your flat commission. So for our example, for our test case, let's just say $395. Then you would say flat commission. So the fee on paragraph 12A would be 6% plus $395 flat commission if you chose to do flat commission. I would say in our office, there's probably 20 to 25% that probably do use a flat commission of some sort. Most of those have been in the market for several years and who may have come from brokerages that required it. Okay. Well, most of them use it for, especially if they have transaction coordinators, for defray some of their own cost. There's some agents that charge $695, $795, and if their clients are, wants their expertise on it and wants them for that, then they do that. If you're using a transaction coordinator and you're paying them X amount of dollars per transaction, then that would be a driving force to not come more out of your pocket. But again, if you're going to do that as your business practice, you just need to make yourself a business note that that is your cost, and if you decide to raise it, make it a point in time in history on a date, whatever your fiscal year would be or whatever, or twice a year you might reevaluate your budget or your business, but don't just haphazardly change it from house to house unless you have a definitive line that homes under $500,000 are at this price and homes that are $500,000 to $1 million are at this price. That's acceptable, but again, be very careful if you're going to use that. Consistency across the board, regardless of any ethnic background, age bracket. Again, if you're from a situation where you might be ex-military or a teacher or a firefighter and you want to not charge that fee to those entities, again, mark it down as such, okay? So again, if the compensation is earned within so many days, customarily you usually see 30 to 45 days there. There's no hard, fast rule. So that covers you if your listing expires and you've not calendared yourself to renegotiate with your client on the listing expiration. It would cover you if they have not gone and got another agent. So within 30 days after the expiration or termination of this agreement, a contract is ratified with a ready, willing, and able buyer to whom the property has been shown during the terms of this agreement. So the property was shown during the terms of your active agreement, right? That's what it says. It doesn't mean post, okay? However, that compensation need not be paid if the contract is ratified on the property while the property is listed with another real estate company. So if you've allowed your listing to expire at midnight last night, okay, and Janet called up Muhammad this morning and said, Dennis did not do a good job for me. Come over. Let's sign a new agreement. Dennis is totally out. Dennis has no business. The only thing he has to do is get a sign out of your yard, basically, because MRIS has already expired the listing online, because if the listing expired last night at midnight at 11:59 p.m., then at midnight it's expired in MRIS, okay? Because when you put in a listing, your expiration date online needs to match what your agreement says. Don't try to fudge that date. Now, MRIS is very kind. They send you reminders that things are going to expire. But like I said, with our smartphones, our calendar reminders, you should not be forgetting these deadlines. So if you have an expiration, let's say perhaps your client only gave you a 2-month listing agreement. Well, by all means, calendar yourself a week to 10 days prior to that expiration so you can renegotiate with them. Again, and this is the finesse you'll learn from, did you guys all see, sidebar here, Will Gaskins is doing the listing agreement presentation? Okay. Did you guys see that? It's today, right, at 1 o'clock? That's what I thought. So it would behoove you to stay for that. And then on Monday at 12, so Monday we're going to finish at 11:30. MVA, our representative, is going to be here to talk about advertising. Both of those classes should be a must-attend class if you can. Now, we'll probably about once a quarter, Will or another agent will do a listing presentation class. He will give you tidbits from his experience that I'm not going to be able to give you, and I don't give you, because I'm really more talking about the contractual side. Will is going to talk about the finessing of a listing presentation, how to get your house, and I'd love to, if you guys can attend, to share some feedback on Monday about that. So again, expirations. So you want to be very careful. Calendar your expirations, knowing as newer agents, within 2 weeks of your house being on the market in an area where it's moving and nothing seems to be wrong in the house except for price, then you need to have a conversation with your client about that. And sometimes that conversation may need to take place prior to putting the house on the market. They just might be totally adamant that they can get, say, $525 for their home, when in reality, their homes in their area are going for $515. So this is a $10,000 delta. So people looking for homes in that area may not, because not all listing agents do their searches in such a way that catches some of those negotiable areas. So if I were looking for someone who had a home who wanted to spend $515, I might extend having my conversation with my buyer. Let's look at homes that are listed for $520 or $525, because sometimes agents themselves, either they themselves don't understand the market or they're listening to their client. Now, it's not that we're going to go out and look at every single house listed at that price. We're going to look at that house, do some research. It's been on the market for 90 days. There's been no price improvement. So usually that tells me there's a stubborn seller there who will not change their mind. Okay. And then coming, to them, and if you call the listing agent, they may say, oh, please present an offer. So they want the more offers they can have to their client. At some point, hopefully that client's going to capitulate and understand that they're overpriced. But where you can sometimes meet with your client who's very adamant that they believe their house is at a certain price point, you could say, well, after 7 days on the market, or X amount of days, if we don't have traffic or we don't have X amount of people through the home, then, and we're in a seller's market right now, and you show them the data that we're in a seller's market, right? You see that when you come to the sales meetings, it comes out in the emails. So seller's market means that homes are being sold in 3 months or less. Okay, now in our area, we think a seller's market is 3 weeks or less, but it truly is 3 months or less, okay? And then there's the stable market and then the buyer's market. So you get those words tossed around the news a lot, but we are in a seller's market. The spring market has started. I don't know that we've really ever stopped a whole lot, but it's always kind of a joke around in this area that the spring market starts right after the Super Bowl. So everyone's thinking toward that. So, and those are things you can share with your client, not to wait till April. The spring market really starts before that. So really start thinking about getting your property on the market now. Okay. We've had people share with us that about 52% of the market in a year is sold by June 30th. So that means 48% is sold between June and December. Okay. So it's not as black and white. We have a tendency to be mindset around here of being a spring market, a fall market. Unlike many areas, our area doesn't necessarily care that school's in session or not, because there's some, not just military, a lot of businesses and the government and people move around a lot are used to moving, and they don't necessarily care that school has started or not. Okay, so where other parts of the country, they may have more movement in the summertime after school's out and before school starts. Okay, so anyway, any questions about compensation? Okay, all right. Page 34, paragraph C, variable rate commission. So if applicable, the broker and seller agree to a variable rate commission to be paid as follows. So where variable rate could come in, I'm sorry. I'm scrolling, thank you. Sorry guys online. Thank you, Dennis. That's weird. Yeah, we must be. All right. Yeah, not sure how I'm set up today, but let me get my keyboard and see if I can enlarge it. So anyway, variable rate commission means, for example, if you are doing dual agency and your client has said, I will do 6%. However, well, it's not working either. Okay. Okay. I'm just not sure how I'm set up. No. Zoom, okay. All right. Oh. Yeah. See, this is my scroll's not working though. I don't understand why that's not working. Yeah. Okay. It's okay. So variable rate. So this is a new paragraph in the listing agreement, so they can make it upfront and personal for the agents to understand that that they need to share this information with the world at large. So if you do dual agency and you have a 6% listing agreement with your client, but the client says, the seller says to the listing broker, if you do dual agency and you bring the buyer as well, then I'm only going to pay you 4% or 4.5% or 5%. They're going to pay you less than what the original commission said. Okay? Because you're getting both sides of the deal. So the seller, it's advantageous for the seller in a dual agency situation if you as the listing agent also bring the buyer, but I'm going to pay you less commission. Okay? That's a variable rate. So where this comes into play is you have to declare that to the world. So in your listing online in MRIS, it will ask, is it variable rate? Now, it doesn't ask you to disclose what the variable rate is. It simply asks, is it designated? Is it dual? Is it variable? Where that comes into play in a, let's say there's a multiple offer situation, okay? And I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Manny. Okay, so Manny is making an offer on Dennis's property. Jana's making an offer on Dennis's property. Muhammad is making an offer on Dennis's property. And Dennis has a client making an offer on Dennis's property. Now, Dennis doesn't know what anyone else is offering yet. You guys are all working on your contracts, and Dennis tells you they're all going to be due at 5 p.m. today. Okay? And he's going to review them with his client at 7 p.m. Now, Dennis gets yours, and he can certainly look at yours and see if he can make his more favorable in any light. But the biggest light that Dennis has, the card that Dennis holds above everybody else, is that he has variable rate. So if all things are equal, you all offered sales the list price or a couple thousand more. You all had home inspections. You all had the same lending package. You all, everything else was equal. You all asked for appraisal, everything. Dennis's client can easily look at Dennis's and say, oh, well, I'm going to save 1.5% of my commission if I use a 4.5% variable rate which is a significant amount of money compared to everybody else's. Do you understand that? So you other three know that that's what you're up against going into this. Now, Dennis's client may not have the same financial package. So Manny's client may have conventional, paying full price, closing in 28 days, and putting down $50,000 earnest money, offering $2,000 over list price. Okay. But Dennis's client may be FHA at a 97-3 split, so he doesn't have a whole lot of money. Okay. So an FHA or a VA, the inspection for the appraisal is almost like a home inspection. So they're very picky about the roof and the systems, more so than a home inspection. Okay. And Dennis's client may be aware of that. So even though they could save money up front at a 4% commission, they may still choose Manny's conventional. Okay. So it's never a guarantee that the seller is going to choose that. So you should not offer. Okay. Because you don't know that there's any other offers. Now, as we move on, it says under paragraph, let's go to paragraph 30. Well, let's finish this up and then I'll tell you more about what I was trying to say. So the retainer fee, again, a retainer fee is a decision you make as a business practice if you're going to charge a retainer fee or not. And if you are, is it going to come off the commission at the end or not? Okay. Again, it's something you need to write down. It's something you need to follow through with everybody. If you're a newer agent and you truly feel that you have no extra funds up front and you want to try a retainer fee situation, mostly in our area, people do not use that. Again, it's used more commonly in the rentals as opposed to the sales, but it's here for a reason. Okay. Early termination. So there's a date that if it's early terminated. So in the event seller wishes to terminate this agreement prior to the end of the listing period without good cause, seller shall pay the broker blank before the broker's execution of a written release. So here, some people will simply put down marketing expenses. Okay. But there's other expenses that you incur during that time. So you could put down all expenses, actual expenses. Again, just keep it consistent with your client. So other expenses that you're incurring is your gas back and forth, everything you're doing, the signs you're ordering. Of course, you've got your marketing. If you have a transaction coordinator who's doing your research for you, for your CMA, and you're paying them a fee to do that, all those are expenses. And if you can keep track of those expenses, then the broker, you representing the broker as a designated agent, can then say, okay, if you want to terminate early, that's great. That's fine, but you owe me my expenses. And you present them a bill, and you don't allow them to be released from the contract until you've recovered that money. Mm-hmm. Are you referring to Section D for retainer fee or E for early termination? Well, early termination, you don't have to put a set fee down. Right, marketing fee or all expenses or actual expenses. Yeah, you can just, it doesn't matter what the price point of the home is. Yeah, because if you're paying to have someone come and take pictures, you're paying for someone to come and do a video of the home or a big display. When you get a couple $1 million home, sometimes you're having these multiple, right, open houses. You're buying food. You're for brokers open. All those are expenses. Okay, all right. If you have a listing, well, we're talking Virginia, but oftentimes, there's parking is really tough in some areas. Even in Virginia, so some agents might use Uber to take them to a home to do an open house, leaving that much more parking available for their client. Okay, so you can just keep track of those expenses, and then, and you would charge them off to the client to get out for early termination. Now, where you don't want to get in an argumentative state with the client, sometimes you may have to look at, is it worth me to go after the client for that money if they're that angry and they're going to badmouth me, Because sometimes someone might want to early terminate because their cousin just got licensed and they want them to list their home, okay? Stuff like that happens. Yes? Well, that's just it. What determines good cause, as Dennis said, right? What is good cause? It's up to the interpretation, okay? So do they feel that you're not representing them well? Is that good cause? You've told them their house is overpriced and they won't believe you, so they're going to get out of the agreement with you and hire another company who's going to tell them the same thing, but they're going to save face because that other company's promised one more site that they're going to advertise on, for example. So they feel that they can save face by doing that. And stuff like that happens all the time. We had an agent several years back who, as the market was turning, did I mention this story the other day? A home on Great Falls on the McLean side. And the homes during the height of the market were picking up to $1 million. So this home was listed at $980,000. And this was in the early 2006s, just as the market was really starting to peak and come down. And the home did not sell. It was on a pipe stem, so there were some extenuating factors that prevented it from being sold close to the $1 million mark. But someone came in and offered $969,000, $11,000 less than the ask price. Not a big deal in the whole scheme of things. This person was so adamant that they did not want to take that. They'd been on the market already for well over 45 days, I think, at that point, and would not take that, and eventually let go of the agent, hired over the course of 18 months 3 other brokerages, and the house eventually sold $200,000+ less than the offer at $969,000. And can you imagine how that buyer who offered that $969,000 was so grateful that they lost that deal, because that's when the market turned down. And to this day, that house has barely recovered back up to that. So we just never know. So sometimes with your sellers, it's a hard pill to swallow when they see those dollar signs and they hear all the hype in the news. The news likes to hype, and it's like Joey said, the worst scenario sometimes, or the partial stories, and that's what they get paid to do. So be careful. Showing them statistics and actual information and overcome any prejudice or preconceived ideas they have, and that's your job. That's why they're hiring you as a professional, to help them wade through the hype that's out there, whether it be on Facebook. And people talk about fake news. There's fake articles too, so be very careful about that. Don't get caught up in reading some of these articles that come out on social media, because I can go in and take a snapshot of CNN's headline, make my own news story up and send it out. I did that in the 90s for a judge in California to prove that a document was faked. So you can imagine the technology has changed now from what I did in the 90s. So confidentiality information. Brokers shall maintain the confidentiality of all personal and financial information and other matters identified as confidential by the seller, which were obtained by broker during the broker's relationship, unless seller consents in writing to the release of such information or as otherwise provided by law. The obligation of the broker to preserve confidential information continues after termination of the broker's relationship. Information concerning late material defects about the property are not considered confidential information. So if your client tells you that the gas leaks on the stove, first of all, say, let's get out of the house and call the gas company. But anything that they share with you, it's a latent defect, you have to share it. Okay. But if they, in my case study the other day, I mentioned in a dual agency situation, Dennis was listing the house for $500, but the client said they would take $475. Dennis is not allowed to disclose that they'll take $475, either during his relationship or after. So let's say that the seller has let Dennis go because he wasn't getting $500 for the property, and he didn't think Dennis was advertising appropriately. He hadn't had enough open houses in his mind. I mean, all this stuff happens. So Dennis is let go. Someone else has a listing, and it's still listed for $500. And Dennis says to Manny in the kitchen, hey, I know you have a client looking in Falls Church at that property. You know, he's willing to take $475. Dennis is not allowed to say that, okay? Because it still follows. He still had that confidential information, okay? Okay, so authorization to disclose other offers. Okay, in response to inquiries from buyers or cooperating brokers, broker may not disclose without seller's authorization the existence of other written offers on the property. If seller does give such authorization, seller acknowledges that the broker and the sales associates must disclose whether the offers were obtained by the listing agent, another member of the listing broker's firm, or by a cooperating broker. So if the seller says they do authorize the broker and the sales associate to disclose such information to the buyer or a cooperating broker. So if you get a call from a buyer and they're represented by another agent, first of all, you don't tell them anything because you're not supposed to. But if you have dual agency and you get a call from a buyer who's just called you up as a listing agent, they've got your phone number off the sign, and they want to know if there's any offers on the property, and your client has given you permission to discuss it, then you can say, yes, we have one offer in hand, or, for example, nothing in hand as yet, but we have 3 offers pending per conversations. And then you say, I'm personally not a dual agent, but I will be glad to refer an agent to you, right? So Dennis could refer Manny to that buyer, and then Manny can work with that buyer. And then the next person calls Dennis would say, yes, we have 3 offers pending, 4 offers pending, and one is an agent within our designated office. So you're letting someone know that there's, inside, if you will. Yes. Right. So you can have that conversation with your client. Okay, I can discuss other offers. It doesn't say you cannot discuss the details. So your conversation with your seller could be, when people call, should I tell them, yep, we've got a full price offer? It's conventional. And yes, you can do that. You don't have to hide it, inside the vest, so to speak. You can certainly share that if your seller is open to do that. So where does it benefit you from saying to someone calling in, yes, we have a conventional offer in hand, full price? Exactly. Someone else could up their offer, a stronger offer, right? Now, you might have a seller who says, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to give specifics. Then you can say, well, if someone calls in, can I say I'm at or near list price? Yes. The buyer's agent might say, is there a home inspection? And you can answer yes or no if your seller gives you permission to do so. But there's nothing wrong with giving full disclosure, because you might be the agent who doesn't want to waste your time writing an offer that's got a full price offer, conventional closing in 30 days. If you know your client is FHA, can't close for 45 days. Why waste your time putting that offer together? Now, you may have a buyer who insists on putting it together, and you're going to do your best to explain to them what they're up against. But then again, You never know what the seller may decide. The seller may look at that FHA offer and say, oh, it's a young couple. It's their first home. Remember when we bought this house? It was our first home. And let's go with them. I mean, that does happen. Buyers have written letters to the sellers pleading, telling the story about their family or whatever it is, and it's tugged on the heartstrings of the sellers. You just don't know where that seller is in their life and how they feel about certain things. It happened to you, Manny, right? So stuff like that can happen. So don't discount writing an offer for your client, because again, don't look at them as dollar signs. Please do not look at your clients as dollar signs, because it will show on your face. The desperation for money will show in how you respond to them. If you really are more even killed, and I'm an emotional person, I gotta admit it, I am. Anyone who knows me, and I have to really be an actress when I'm working with clients, because I cannot let it show on my face what I'm really, wanting to say or do. Okay. All right. So compliance with fair housing laws. Do I need to go over this with you guys? It was drilled into you during your testing. Okay. Just know you have to be compliant. As I stated the other day, as of yet, students are not a protected class in Virginia. They are in other jurisdictions. So if you do happen to have a rental, you can just exclude students. Okay. Relocation program, we went over that in length already. Any questions on that? Condominium and Property Owners Association. Okay. Property Owners Association is synonymous with Homeowners Association. In the legal documents in Virginia, they use the term Property Owners Association. However, when we're talking about real estate, if you're using the acronym, POA has a different meaning for many of us. Does anyone know what it is? Power of attorney, right? So we tend to use HOA in discussing as opposed to POA. So there's no confusion. But a property owners association is the HOA, homeowners association. Okay, now, can you have it both cases? Can you have a condo and a property? Yes, Dennis, you can. Lake Ridge, Reston, yeah. So there are areas that have both. And it behooves you as agents to keep that in the back of your mind. Because if you are on the buyer's side and you get one set of documents and they haven't given you, for example, the Reston Association, they only gave you the cluster, it's incomplete. Your client still has the 3 days to review the other set of documents. I've had listing agents who had no idea that their client had 2 sets of documents and needed to produce them. Okay, so I'm sorry, guys. Let me scroll down. No, there's just a few, really. So, for like in Lake Ridge and in Reston, for example, so condo is on the previous page. So in your book on page 34, you're looking at paragraph 17, and then on this page, you're looking at paragraph 18. So when you meet with your client, you pretty much know if you're in a condo or not, okay? So that's pretty straightforward. We're in a condo association. And but there are townhouses that are ran as condos. So it's important that you know and understand that. So even though you go to a townhouse to meet your client, now before you met your client, you should have already been online looking at the tax record, and you should already know that it's a condo. Okay. But remember, your buyers that are going around may not know that. Okay. So if you know that it's a condo, it's pretty straightforward. It's a condo. Therefore, there's condo association fees, documents that need to be obtained. Oh, by the way, I personally believe the onus should be on the seller to obtain those. However, if you have a seller who works a lot during the day, who might be in a secure location, very common in our area, if they choose to provide you with their online access for you to go on and order their documents, but that's the beauty of the online access right now. They can do it at midnight. Okay. But the condo docs need to be ordered. Personally, when I take a listing, I want the documents ordered the moment we sign the listing agreement. I want the documents for whether it's a condo or a homeowners association ordered immediately. The state of Virginia gives them 14 days to provide those. Okay. So from a listing perspective, because that's what we're doing right now, from a listing perspective, how sweet is it that when someone gives us an offer and we ratify it and we now have a contract, that the moment our contract is ratified, we can turn over those documents to them. And they have 3 days to get out of the deal or not. Okay. If the documents are not ordered right away and we're 21 days into the contract, 7 days before closing, the documents finally show up, they have 3 days to get out of the deal without any reason. They don't have to give any reason whatsoever. So what about the townhouse 2 doors down came up and they like it better, right? They can get out of the deal without cause. So the longer it takes you to get the documents, this is the conversation I have with my sellers. I said, furthermore, except for Reston Association itself, and I'm not sure about Lake Ridge, they may do the same with master policy. Those cannot be deferred to settlement. But your other clusters or condo documents, you can defer payment for those documents on the settlement statement. Okay, yes. The documents are good unless any substantive changes have been made, like in board meetings and such. So I had a situation in Reston a couple years ago where we did this exact same thing, and the documents, it was 75 days into it being on the market, and the contract was finally ratified, and the purchaser's agent was also an owner in that same complex. So we produced the condo documents, and she challenged us on them because she had been to a board meeting on January 7th that year. And those documents didn't have the minutes of the meetings of the January 7th included. So I promptly called the association and I said, what? She knows we don't include those till the next meeting. So I said, could you just send me a letter stating that? And they did. And it shut her up. She was trying to get some extra time for her client. But, you may have to re-up them, the resale package and such. And if certainly it's been a long listing agreement, you'll definitely want to do that. And if the other side asks for another inspection because they're concerned, you may have to do that too. But, again, be very wise about the property and what you're doing in the market in the area that it's in. But it is an advantage to do it and have it out of the way. I was just privy to a situation where on a short sale, it's been going on for 6-8 months, and the other side's really upset, but circumstances were such that the people decided they could no longer move forward, and they were able to use the homeowners association documents to void the contract. Sure, everyone's upset. There's hurt feelings on both sides. Both agents are sorry they're losing their commission, but it is the buyer's right in Virginia. And right now, there's no cause required to explain. No matter how much the other side asks you to explain, you do not have to give an explanation at all. Okay. Could just be the way the wind is moving. And as a listing agent, do not send those terse emails to the other agents. It just makes you look bad, and you're in the wrong to do it. You cannot demand. Don't call them up and cuss them out. You're just being unethical at that point, and you're wrong. You just cannot do that. You have no right to know why. Okay? Now, if they give you an answer, that's great, but you cannot force them to give you an answer. Okay? So again, these two sections get missed all the time in listing agreements. Mind you, it's been a decade and a half plus that I've reviewed buyers and listing agreements, working for Steve over these years, and these paragraphs get missed all the time. People they're afraid, or it's too time consuming to ask their client while they're sitting there with them. In this day and age, your client, should be able to pull this information up online and produce it rather quickly. How much do you pay? Because you need to know this information when you put it in the listing agreement. I mean, online in Keystone. Do you want to be sitting at home at 10 or 11 o'clock on a Thursday night trying to get a listing on before 9 a.m. Friday morning? And you don't even know how much the condo fees are. And you can't guess. You have to find out. And don't go look at other listings. They might be wrong. They may have done the same thing, or your particular condo group has a higher price point than the one next door for whatever reason. They could be 6 months younger. So just be very careful about that. So property condition, paragraph 19. Okay. Seller acknowledges that broker has informed the seller of the seller's rights and obligations under the Virginia Residential Property Disclosure Act. That property is or is not exempt from the act. If not exempt, the seller has completed and provided to the broker residential disclosure statement or any other applicable disclosures as may be required. Seller acknowledges broker is required to disclose to prospective buyers, here we go again, all material adverse facts pertaining to the physical condition of the property actually known by the broker. Broker shall not, however, be obligated to discover latent defects in the property or to advise on property condition matters outside the scope of the broker's real estate license. Seller shall indemnify, save, and hold broker harmless from all claims, claimants, disputes, litigation, judgments, and attorney's fees arising from any incorrect information supplied by seller from seller's failure to disclose any material defects. So if your seller has knowledge that there is a cracked foundation underneath the carpet in the basement and never tells you, then you are not responsible. You as the agent, the brokerage firm, you are not responsible for that because you have no knowledge of that. Now sometimes that's hard to prove. And that's where our ethical laws, that's where investigations come into play. But you don't know. You don't know. And, yes, Dennis. Mm-hmm. If you know something's wrong, yes. Right. You do have to. If you have knowledge that something's wrong, you have to tell them. Yes. Yeah. You have to disclose it. Yeah. So now, people who don't have to use the, if you flip over to page 40, for those online, I'm not going to flip the screen just because it's more difficult today. The page 40 is the DPOR residential disclosure statement. Last year, DPOR put out, I think, about 5 to 7 different types of disclosures. It's in your dot loop. But the most one you're going to use is this disclosure statement, where you're going to put the property address. It's going to have a hyperlink there for them to go online and check out anything about your property that might be in public record. So if a home has been flooded or stuff like that, it's going to show up. However, banks, trustees for estate sales, and personages such as that are not required to use this document because they do not have that knowledge. Okay, so if you're the buyer's agent, you're writing an offer, and there's no residential disclosure online, your first step, of course, is to call the listing agent and say, I don't see any of your documents listed. Could you send that to me? And that agent might say, oh, this is a short sale, or this is a foreclosure, not a short sale, foreclosure. The bank's taken over. Therefore, we don't have to offer that because the bank has no idea of any latent or material defects in the home. Or this is an estate. This is a trustee for the person who's passed away, and they have no knowledge. So those are some of the examples of people who may not have knowledge, and therefore that document does not have to be signed by the seller. Okay. Question? Okay. So property condition. So lead-based paint, easily done. You look online. Was it built before 1978? Then you have to offer the lead-based paint disclosures. If it wasn't, you don't. Okay. We finally got away from some of the brokerages forcing agents to do that. Even into the early mid-2000s, some brokerages were still making agents sign lead-based paint even when the house was built in the 2000s, because their brokerage made it a mandated thing. And I would just tell the agents, my client's not going to sign it, period. There's no lead-based paint. It doesn't need to be. I don't want to make my package any fatter than it is. So, unfortunately, they've gotten away from that. But again, if the home is built before 1978, as a listing agent, your client will need to fill out the lead-based paint disclosure. You also, as an agent, sign it, an initial, and you fill out the federal lead-based paint document. So when we do our miscellaneous documents, we'll talk more to those. But that is part of your package. On Monday, I'm going to give you a list, like a checklist, if you will, of items to include in your listing packages and how you determine what goes there. Okay. All right, so then current liens. Again, paragraph 21, I personally do not understand why agents are so afraid to ask their client this information. They have to provide it to the title company once a contract is ratified. Okay? Well, to give you knowledge as an agent what situation you're in. You know, is there a lien on the house? How many liens are there? Is it upside down? And they're afraid to tell you. Okay. I had a client who bought a house, sold his house in Chantilly, bought one in South Riding last year. May 1st. Closing on May 1st. And I'm literally at the chiropractor's office an hour before closing over in McLean. And my phone is laying face up on the chair, and I see David Robertson's name come up 1 hour before closing. I'm like, oh, excuse me, something is definitely wrong here. Grab the phone, and David says, the abstractor just found another lien on the property and a different name than the seller's name. We believe it's another marriage or a maiden name, but everything seems to lead toward that it is the seller herself. And sure enough, she had taken a loan out for $90,000 against her property at some point. She claimed that it was not collateral and it should not be attached to her townhome. Who loans $90,000 without collateral? She knew the loan was out there. She knew it was in a different name than her name, and it had not come up. But because their abstractors go into the court records and they look and they look and look, and they were doing their due diligence. And fortunately, they saw the similarity in the name that it popped up, and they questioned it. She still owed $60,000 on the $90,000. My client, at that point, he was already here. We signed the documents. Highlands sent the money because the buyer had promised that they could get it paid off and cleared within 48 hours. Well, they were not able to do that. It actually took them 72 hours. But at the end of that 48 hours, the money that Highlands had sent to the title company had to go back to Highlands. And my client had to come in 4 days later and re-sign all his documents. and the money had to be transferred back, right? Now, mind you, the listing agent called me and cursed me out to no end because she kept saying, because the Universal kept questioning about the liens. There was something there, and that's why they sent someone back to double check, because there was enough irregularity showing up that they were questioning stuff. So they asked the listing agent, and the buyer had moved out of state already. The home had been vacant when we first saw it. And there was a tenant. That was the other thing. There was a tenant inside. So all these little weird things going on. So the listing agent literally cursed me out on the phone as I was driving from McLean over here, saying that they had repetitively given all the information they could to Universal Title, and Universal Title was screwing up. Well, when they found out 2 hours later that it was their client who had lied to her, I mean, she never apologized, but she knew she was wrong. She knew, and see, that's where the emotions, you got to keep it out of there. I just let her scream at me, okay, thank you, hung up, and came on to closing. Because I had faith in what David was telling me. I knew that my clients were eventually going to get the house. It was going to be figured out. I was able to be calm and explain it to him when he got there. Between David and I, we were able to lay out the whole situation to him, and he was able to make a decision, on how to proceed. Fortunately, he wasn't having to move in that day. There's always that happens. What happens? The ripple effect. But stuff like that does happen. It happens all the time. And it's the more you hear these things, the more you're prepared. Okay. So that's why for me, paragraph 21 is very important to make your client think, do you have a HELOC? Yes, I have a HELOC, but there's no money owed on it. My HELOC's for $150,000, but it's zero. Okay, well, when you sell your house, we have to close that down. Okay, and it should show up when they do the title search. I mean, the deed and all that, and recordings, and that's what they do. The title companies hire abstractors to go out and look at county records. Sometimes it can be done online. Sometimes they physically need to go to the county. Some of these smaller counties out in the country, you still have to physically go there and look at these big volumes of stuff to get the information. So again, at the moment of doing this listing agreement, if your client, you might be at a restaurant and they just don't have the stuff with them, don't make that stop you from finishing getting this signed. What I would then suggest is that you say to your client, I'm going to send this to you or in an email, and could you finish filling it out and just initial it, and then you can just add it back into your package after you have your broker initial it, okay? So there would be amending. So the words amendment means you're amending or making a change, and an addendum, you're adding a document to something. You're adding to an agreement, okay? Okay, so seller financing, you don't see it a whole lot. So the chances are the answer is going to be no here on paragraph 22. That's just weird. Why are we not matching up? Yeah, so, right. But on here, page 20, oh, because it's two, I'm sorry. I don't feel well, guys. It's showing. All right. Okay, seller financing, again, very rare, but it could be a father-son, mother-daughter, mother-son situation where they may have, they may offer just finance for their child. Okay, so they're going to sell the property. There's a whole set of documents that gets filled out, but Manny, you may own a property free and clear. You're going to sell it to your child who's going to go through the whole process of setting up agreement to pay you. It's a binding agreement, just as if you were the bank, that you're going to be able to foreclose on your son if they don't produce, right? So again, it's very rare that you see that, but it does, Virginia contract and list agreements does allow for that. Yeah, right, right. Yep. Mary was asking if there was a foreclosure or someone didn't follow through, what do you do? And again, if it's your family, it's one thing. If you're a seller who has a lot of money and you're doing this as a business, you're going to follow the guidelines. You know, whatever your agreement says, if they default, then you have so many days. That's in your agreement, you fill them out with, okay? So closing fees. The closing fees, the closing costs are fees for the preparation of the deed of conveyance, that portion of the settlement, agent's fee billed to the seller, cost of releasing existing encumbrances, seller's legal fees, grantor's tax, and any other proper charges assessed to seller will be paid by the seller unless provided otherwise in the sales contract. Then seller's estimated cost of settlement is attached, yes or no. If you're not going to do this ahead of time for your client, then put no, okay? What a lot of us might do online, MRS, there's a product called Close It. You could do that. The olden days, you would take a blank piece of paper and you would put a projected sales price, and then you would calculate what the recording cost would be and what the congestion tax fee would be. Have you guys heard of that one yet? The congestion tax fee. Where I love having David and his staff handy with Universal Title and our link with them, we can ask him to give us a mock settlement statement with just their fees and the closing costs based strictly on the sales price. So it's not going to be deducting what their mortgage payoff would be. So it's a very bare bones. And then I would say to my client, okay, this is what the costs are to use Universal Title. Here are the, based on our list price, not the sales contract price, because we don't know that yet, but based on the list price, these are the recording fees, the grantor's tax, the congestion fee tax, because you live in Northern Virginia. Oh, you've not heard of that? Well, it's there. There's nothing you can do about it, okay? And you just pay it. So you can get that information. Okay, seller's proceeds. The seller acknowledges that the seller's proceeds may not be available at the time of settlement. The receipt of proceeds may be subject to the Virginia Wet Settlement Act and may be subject to other laws, rules, and regulations. Virginia state statutes and the Foreign Investment Real Property Tax Act, affectionately known as FIRPTA. Seller is advised to seek legal and or financial advice, okay, concerning these matters. So what the WET Act means is in Virginia, we go to closing and we sign. So the paper's wet. It hasn't quite dried yet. The ink's not dry because it hasn't been given to the county for recording. So it's considered signed and closed, and we transfer our keys. But money doesn't transfer until it's recorded at the county. Okay, so it's wet. In Maryland and DC, there are dry settlements where the money transfers in other states at the table. So if a brokerage allows, the agent can walk away with a check there and then at the table. In Virginia, that's not how it works. So in Virginia, you go to settlement. So let's say you go to settlement at 5 o'clock on Friday. Don't do that to David. Please don't do that to David. But anyway, you go to settlement at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever his late settlement is. And Monday is a holiday, so the court is closed. So Tuesday is when it gets recorded. And hopefully it's recorded before 3 o'clock. But Monday was a holiday, so you can imagine the backlog that everyone's going through, getting caught up. So once it's recorded, Then the title company, and they've gotten notification from the abstractor that it's been fully recorded with the county. There was no liens that they found over the weekend because Dennis went out and bought a Ferrari based on the fact that he owned that house, you know. So he's got this lien against his property on Tuesday that was not there on Friday. But everything is good to go. There's no extra liens because that's what they do. It's called a bring down. They go in and they double check that nothing's happened since they originally checked out the property, okay? And then it's good to go. It's been blessed, and now the money can be dispersed. That means that the seller's money is sent to the mortgage company to pay it off, and then the commission is sent to the listing and selling brokerage according to the settlement statement. And anyone else who is due money, like a condo or an HOA association that had deferred payment, the condo or the HOA who the title company has collected maybe 2 or 3 months worth of fees, whatever there was required for them to do. The pest control is paid off, the HMS warranty is paid off. You had IRS lien, the seller had an IRS lien, all that gets paid off. So you have X amount of dollars, everything gets paid off, the fees to the settlement company, and then you come up with zero at the end. But no one gets paid until it's blessed by the court and it's been and it's told to the title company that they can now make payments. Wow. Manny was sharing that his deed did not get recorded when he bought his house for 4 or 5 months. Okay. Now, back in the day in the 90s, when the market was starting to, the interest rates were going down, and title companies doing tons of refinances and stuff, it was taking Fairfax almost 9 months to get it recorded and then through the system where it actually showed up. So that's why your abstractors were having to go there and stand in line and physically look at stuff. So it depends on your counties and stuff that can happen. But in this day and age, it should not be happening. So be careful about that title company and hope it wasn't. Okay. Okay. So that brings up a good point. Manny was saying that it was a foreclosure and so the bank selected the title company. Okay. Oftentimes they will give incentives to do that, which they're not supposed to. And in the state of Virginia, it is the buyer's choice for a title company. Right. They might prefer it. So this is what you do. In your contract, in your offer, you write in their preferred title company. Okay. If you have no faith in who they are, and you will start to hear those names as you in the business, because an agent's going to say to you, "Oh, Manny, no, horrible service. You never get through." You will start hearing stuff like that. But the moment your offer is ratified, literally the moment it is ratified, you do a one-way communication called a notice. You simply say, "Buyer will use X title company," and you send it to the other side, and the listing agent can complain all they want, but that is the buyer's right in Virginia. There's nothing, including the bank, there's nothing they can do. Okay. Same with new home construction. You might lose out on them paying a couple $100 for your insurance or what have you, but the peace of mind sometimes is far more valuable than a couple $100. Okay. So FIRPTA, so it's the Foreign Investor Real Property Tax Act. So you need to know about this. It is on the buyers to make sure that this is filled out on the contract offer. So you need to ask the other company, the other listing agent, if that has been done. So is your client FIRPTA or not? So when you make an offer, you leave it blank because you don't know if the seller's flipped or not unless they've put it out there for you. If they're a foreign investor, so you don't have to be a citizen in the United States to purchase property. You can be a foreign investor here, but you still have to pay taxes on your earnings off of that. So if that foreign investor has not engaged with the IRS with a tax ID, for example, then a property can be sold, but they don't get any money from the sale of property until they pay their taxes on it. And it's a lot of paperwork involved, and it just kind of stops all the work. So let's read this next paragraph. Section 1445 of the Internal Revenue Service Code may require the settlement agent to report the gross sales price, seller's federal tax identification number, and other required information to the IRS. Seller will provide to the settlement agent such information upon request. In certain situations, the IRS requires a percentage of the sales price to be withheld from the seller's proceeds if seller is a foreign person for purposes of U.S. income taxation. Foreign persons include, but are not limited to, non-resident aliens, foreign corporations, foreign partnerships, foreign trusts, and foreign estates. So then you say to your lister, are you a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident as defined by the Immigration and Nationality Act or a green card holder, yes or no? You need to ask that question. Stop being afraid. My beloved agents who've been around for years are afraid to ask that question. Too many times I find this area blank. They're just afraid to ask. Never assume because someone is of a particular skin color or anything that they are or are not a foreign investor. You just can't. So you have to ask that question. And you might assume that your neighbor is an American citizen, and they may not be. They could be Canadian. We just sound somewhat alike. You might think they're from Minnesota, and they're actually from Canada. Okay? I'm just saying that can happen. So, other people who've been here for 30, 40 years, they work here, they live here, they have all the documentation, but they've never, become a citizen or a green card holder. They could be working for the World Bank or other things. So you just cannot assume these things. Okay. So seller's duties. Okay, let's move to the next page here. I got to figure out, ask David why this is different today. Okay, actually, you know what? I'm going to stop today because it's 1:15 before we get into all this stuff. We'll pick this back up on Monday, and then we'll talk about the addendums. I know that Dennis did his homework and got a shiny new toy. Did anyone else look online or order your laser measurer? I'm sorry? Okay, there's an app for it as well. Okay. Okay, what's the name of the app? Okay, there you go. Assuming you have cell service. No, you're not. Trust me. There are a lot of dead spots. Okay. Well, we've been in many an area where it doesn't work, where our central lock doesn't work, yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay. If you want to send me an email with it. So did anyone, with that said, did anyone in class or online look at the blue and white MRIS proper information sheet? Jan is shaking her head yes. Okay, good. So Jan is going to talk to a friend and use her house. I would encourage you guys to do that. sooner than later. Get the practice of doing this, going through, filling it out, just familiarizing yourself, especially everything that's in red has to be answered, okay? You have to answer it. So you need to know the answer, okay? Okay, we talked about the open houses and such. Remember, so tomorrow, 9 a.m., starting bright and early. And Monday, we're going to end at 11:30. We will have some guest speakers coming in over the next few weeks. Since what I've decided to do, I'm asking our guest speakers in lieu of providing food, because we seem to have lesser in class than online, to offer up some of their gift cards and such. So on February 12th, after the mock settlement, we will have, we'll collect the homework, we'll look at what you've done, and we will have some door prizes and stuff. So some gift cards and valuable things for you to have in your business, okay? Any questions about what your homework is out there online, anyone? So to reiterate, 5 open houses, 3 brokers opens over the course of time. So February 11th is your last brokers open. Your last open house, because the 12th is on a Monday. That's our last day. And that day especially, and for those of you who can come into class, it would be great to see you and have some more interaction. I think you can learn a lot. I hope those who can't come in are learning online, but please feel free to send any questions that you have about what we're covering, and we'll move forward. Thanks.